Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have John Zanzarella on the line. He's VP of Sales over at PerformLine. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's just jump right in. So let's get into what you're doing over at PerformLine. So first, tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So PerformLine is a sales and marketing monitoring technology. We work with companies that are in highly regulated industries. For us, it's predominantly consumer finance. And what our technology does is it automatically monitors and scores content across all customer channels, so web, call center, chat, email, and social media. And what our technology is looking for is potential regulatory violations, things like truth in lending or unfair and deceptive advertising, and potentially brand violations like reputation management or complaints. So we work with, I'll give you an example, we would help a credit card company monitor their credit card offers for accurate APR rates all across the web so that their customers are getting accurate information and their brand remains compliant.
That's awesome. And I mean, when we think about regulation and compliance, let's talk about some of the kind of companies that this affects, industries that you work with. Let's start there.
Yeah, it's a huge ecosystem. I guess probably 5 or 6 years ago, consultancies started calling it RegTech for regulatory technology.
Oh my gosh, hold on. Did you just teach me a new tech? I love it. FinTech, InsurTech. Oh my, RegTech? Are you kidding? Can I do podcast tech? PodTech? No, sorry, go ahead. I just get excited whenever I learn a new tech. So there's RegTech. Go ahead, please.
You can definitely start PodTech and I will support you. But yeah, so we work with a lot of fintech companies. We work with banks, credit card issuers, fintech companies. Again, anyone who's in a highly regulated space. And in the U.S., the regulatory landscape continues to evolve. There are all these federal regulations and different agencies like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And now the state attorney generals are actually coming out with their own regulations. So consumer-friendly states like New York and California are coming out with their own regulations. So if you're a large bank and you're doing a lot of communication with customers, you are constantly scrambling to not only understand these regulations, but to work with your compliance department, your legal department, your marketing and sales departments to make sure everyone's on the same page. And our technology really helps create efficiencies around that and make sure that the brand itself understands what is out there around their company.
Man, I love that, and I know. So I haven't been in the financial industry in going on 3 years now, but I was an advisor for almost 14 years, and I tell you that the compliance is such a tough thing, and it's not that the companies don't want to do a good thing. It's not that the advisors don't want to do a good thing. It's just when you think about social media, when you think about these monkey wrenches of what one video does or one piece of content. I mean, like for example, RIAs when they're audited, even small ones, and it's just regulations. So if it depends on the size of the RA, if they're audited or when they are. So it's not if, it's when, and it's just a natural part of business. So not a bad thing like possibly an IRS audit. Like you have to be accountable for every piece of content that you put out there, and it's just this enormous task to the point to where some financial firms and things just don't want to deal with any of that, anything social media related or other things, because they're so busy with the compliance on just regular compliance without adding these other obstacles. When I think of something like PerformLine and the whole Comply Tech, or did I say that right? Compliance Tech. Is it? Give me the tech again, John. I need it. I already forgot it. I should have wrote it down.
It's all good. So
RegTech, I got it, RegTech. Oh, you know what I was thinking of, and I think we'll use that as an accidental transition. Let's get into Comply Conference. So speaking of, I want to get right into that. So that's what was on my mind. I'll call that one. So you got a big conference coming up. I didn't get my invite. It's okay. I understand Money Matters, Top Tips, the podcast, not quite compliance ridden, but tell us a little bit more about Comply Tech and Comply Conference and what's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you'll like this story. About 7 years ago, as a company, we were spending more time helping consumer finance companies. And as you can imagine, these banks are difficult to break into. So on the sales and marketing side of things, we knew that, Salesforce has a huge event in San Francisco for sales professionals, and HubSpot does this great event in Massachusetts for marketing professionals. But there wasn't a conference that kind of took legal and compliance out of the back office, treated them like rock stars for a couple of days, in an environment that wasn't just your typical kind of hotel dimly lit venue, that was in this cool New York City conference space that actually brought together technology, the regulators, and then some of the leaders in the compliance side of things for these consumer finance companies. And from that, Comply was born. That year, I think we probably had about 75 attendees. This year, we should have over 500 on May 5th and 6th in New York City, and has become the premier event for chief compliance officers or anybody who is interested in some of the regulations that are affecting consumer finance companies today.
Man, that's exciting. And let's talk a little bit about the content that because there's a lot of people listening right now that are in those shoes and have those responsibilities. Business owners, entrepreneurs, executives. Let's talk a little bit more about the kind of content / agenda they can expect to get for going to Comply Conference.
Yeah, our content team does such an awesome job getting some real premier speakers. So what they can expect is a variety of presentations, all the way from kind of fireside chats to panels to individual presentations. We do have panels specifically on regulation. So hearing directly from the head of consumer protection from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that's a popular one. The head of consumer protection from the FTC is going to be there as well. So they're talking proactively about, hey, here's how we're looking at regulations in 2020 and what your company should look out for. We also have leaders from, companies like Capital One and Robinhood and Credit Suisse and Green Dot and Elevate, who are on the compliance side of things. They're working for these huge companies, so they're sharing best practices. And then we mix it up a little bit. We have, a keynote speaker, a gentleman named Ben Nempton. You might know him from the documentary TV show The Buried Life. And that's an inspirational keynote. And he's talking about, how he not only went through his 100-item bucket list, but also helped a lot of other people do the same thing. So the content, again, is not typical just laws and compliance. It's actually a lot of fun. And we build in 8 hours of networking, which leads to a lot of really good idea sharing. And from PerformLine, it leads to having some really cool conversations with clients and prospective clients.
Man, that is so exciting. I like it. And you're right. It's good that I love the format. So when somebody thinks once upon a time how conferences were done, it could be for compliance, it could be for anything, right? There was that old-fashioned format that didn't make it quite as engaging and fun. They're usually, some of them, depending on the content, became one of those things that you had to go because you were the chief compliance officer and it was your job to go. This sounds like something that people are like, they're meeting, they have some networking, they're having fun, you have great speakers. It's something that they want to go to and look forward to every year. So kudos on everything you guys are doing there to host an amazing event like that. I didn't know, did you drop the dates? So what are the dates? How do people find information on that? Let's get a little bit more there.
Yeah, sure. So the dates are May 5th and 6th, and the event's taking place in New York City. And they could find more information at comply2020.com. They'll learn a little bit about this year's theme, which is cool. If you look at the progression of it, 3 years ago, our theme was Comply Like a Boss, and it was talking about empowering compliance professionals to have a seat at the leadership table of these big companies. Last year, it was Comply Together, and it was about how not only internally can compliance work with other departments, but also how companies can work with regulators, can work with technology to foster this environment of compliance and consumer protection. And this year, the theme is Comply to Thrive. And when we say Comply to Thrive, we mean that if your business today is not focused on compliance, it's actually going to slow down your ability to grow. And you'll see that when you listen to some of the companies that are going to be there, like Robinhood and Green Dot, who are these hyper-growth fintech companies that are really leading with consumers in mind. And that's how they've been able to grow so much over the last, 5 to 10 years.
Man, that's amazing. So, John, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about PerformLine, how do they do that?
Yeah, they just go to www.performline.com, and they'll get a bunch of information about our product offering, about some of the companies we work with. And if they are in the compliance space, our marketing team does a great job of just putting out content that they will find interesting. So go download some stuff and maybe we'll have a chance to connect with them.
Fantastic. Well, hey, John, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing more about what you're doing over at PerformLine and also your Comply conference. I mean, that thing is awesome. Sounds like going to be a bunch of compliance rock stars over there, so great stuff there. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you had a lot of fun listening to this. If you did, well, we had a lot of fun making it for you. So don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Money Matters Top Tips, give us a subscribe there and leave some comments in the comment section on that video. Definitely like to engage in the conversation there. If it is compliance ridden, don't worry. I'll put that one on John. I don't have to answer those questions. We're gonna put John to work on that. And John, thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Adam. Take care.